Everyone, if I could call the meeting to order, I'd invite you all to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. My name's Anthony Doyle. I'm your moderator tonight. To my right, we have Heather Hunt, John Boyle, Robert Bishop, Mark Strout, Daniel Esco, Joe Diver, Tom Hutchison, and to my left, we have William Drosheen and Tom Irwin of the Finance Committee. As you know, this is being recorded. Please identify yourself. If you're going to address the assembly, please address the assembly and not have a private discussion amongst members of the audience. This should be a relatively straightforward meeting. There is only one article on the warrant. I would note that the warrant was properly published by being posted in 5 public spaces in the town of Dalton at least 14 days prior to today's date. And the first item on all agendas is a waiver of the official reading of the warrant, so I don't have to read the whole thing. Do I have such a motion? Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Article 1. I move that the, I'm sorry, where's my, Heather, do you have a copy of the warrant? You have a copy of the warrant itself? Yep. I don't want to read the motion, I want to read the article. Article 1, to see if the town will transfer a sum of money from the General Stabilization Fund to Fund 246, Police Outside Detail, in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53C, to be used for the purpose for which the fund was established, or to take any other action in relation thereto. Mr. Drosheen.
I move that the town transfer the sum of $20,000 from the General Stabilization Account to Fund 246 Police Outside Detail as authorized by Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53C, to be used for the purpose for which the fund was established.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Diver.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to amend that motion, if I may, with replacing the motion of the amount of $20,000 to the amount of $25,000 as supported by the Select Board.
Do you have that in writing, please? There's a motion on the floor to amend the article from $20,000 to $25,000. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by saying no?
No.
No.
Thank you. Article 1 has been moved, seconded, and amended to $25,000. Is there any discussion?
Good evening, all. I'd like to take a moment to explain this account and what is happening with it. Now, this account is set up to allow the town to be able to pay police officers that work off-duty details, such as road work or functions of the town, such as voting or events, the schools where police are needed. Basically, this money allows for the lag in receipt of invoice payments and gives us the ability to pay the officers the next pay period. Generally, the invoices are paid within 30 days, replenishing this account. However, due to the changing environment within our police force it requires more money for the account. This is generally equating to more details at a higher price per hour. These are all issues that are presently being addressed. I'd like to point out that this account is presently overdrawn by more than $11,000. This should not be the case, as we are not allowed by law to overdraw accounts. There is only one account that is allowed to be overdrawn, and that is snow and ice, and that's due to the lack of predictability. But there are constraints on how this can be overdrawn. The account needs to be made whole by June 30th of each fiscal year, this being the end of the fiscal year and of course in subsequent years as time goes on. At that point, on July 1st, any receipts that come in will be applied to be applied to the overdraw amount it needed. If indeed the receipts are larger than the overdraw, then there is no action taken. However, if the receipts do not exceed the overdraw on September 30th, the difference will be deducted from the town's free cash. This will happen per the Department of Local Services, which is a division of the Department of Revenue. The Select Board has put in place a plan to make the account whole, but it takes time for the new method of management to catch up to the overdrawn amount. This is why we are here to ask the voters and taxpayers to support this account that provides a service to those who need it. Once the money is in place, the hope is that it will not be overdrawn again. The Finance Committee voted to support $20,000 to satisfy the overage, keeping in mind that the hope is that collections will come in and keep it from overdrawing. Once approved, this will increase the amount of money in the account from $25,000 as is presently sitting. Our expectation was $45,000. Well, today we have an amendment that has taken it to $50,000. I hope that my comments will help lend clarity to this issue and will be able to support this motion, thus keeping our officers working on these details and not have to tell them that we cannot allow the detail due to the lack of funds. I'd like to thank all of you for being here today. This shows us how the system of government we have in this great country of ours continues to work and will continue to keep working. Please vote at every opportunity just to keep this country running. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Dimmer.
Good evening. When this issue was brought to the Select Board by our Chief of Police and our Town Manager, they clearly communicated what the issues were. Our officers work in detail from time to time. Would not get paid the week after they performed that detail because the account was in the negative. Our accountant told us it was illegal to make any payments if the account was in the negative. It's illegal for that account to go into a deficit. Upon further research by our chief and our town manager, we then learned that other towns use what's called an agency account. That agency account is allowed to go into the negative and to be replenished when the receipts come in. Further, our town manager and our chief both reached out to DOR, Department of Revenue, and our town manager came back. We met about this in 3 separate Select Board meetings. Our town manager came back to us and said, Select Board, you have 2 paths. One path is to fund the account to a level in which it would not go into the negative, or transfer the entire operation of this process to the police department under the leadership of the chief, and it can go into the negative or deficit as long as 90 days, not by the end of the fiscal year, but 90 days after the fiscal year, the account is made whole. Some of our receipts are not 30 days. Some are 60. Some are 90. A couple are 120. So we have a new operational process, and the board set policy. We set two critical policies. The town of Dalton will deliver police detail services, and the town of Dalton will pay our officers the week after they perform the detail. Those are select board policies with unanimous votes. Then, the way to make this account whole, unfortunately, for Mass General Law, we have to bring you all here tonight to make this vote to transfer funds from the general stabilization to the police detail fund. Our finance committee this past week had a meeting about this motion. 1 hour and 27 minutes. There was a finance committee who wanted to go 0 to 5,000. Another wanted to go 15,000. A lot of operational assumptions were made in that committee meeting. Our chief was not invited to that meeting to clarify operational process. She clearly clarified operational process to the select board, in which we determined the value to put into the account was $25,000. And that's where the motion stands tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, turn it to you. I don't know that it's on. Nope.
Yes? No? Okay, my name is Deanna Strout. For anyone that doesn't know, I'm the chief of police for the town of Dalton. I've been a police officer for the town of Dalton for nearly 26 years. We are here tonight to solve the problem of the detail account. The town is uncomfortable spending the account into a deficit, which most other communities do, so the solution was to add more money to the account to avoid the deficit. Hiring and retaining police officers has become increasingly difficult over the last few years, and making officers who are paying mortgages and raising families wait weeks for payment is not an acceptable practice any longer. These officers are in uniform and doing police work contrary to the personal opinion of some on the finance committee. Details work. A vendor such as Verizon or Eversource will contact the police department in the jurisdiction of the job that they need to work in. In Dalton, Officer Bradley handles our details and will put the detail out for the officers to work. He assigns them, and if he needs to, he contacts a mutual aid department to fill them. This is the same process for other towns when they don't have enough officers to work the details requested. They contact mutual aid departments and request officers. I want to be clear when I say police departments do not refuse details due to lack of money, like was stated in the finance committee meeting. They refuse them because they don't have enough officers to work, which is why they call on mutual aid departments. The vendor cannot pick who works, nor call the other departments. It is the job of the police department in the jurisdiction to assign who works the detail, not the vendor. Officers submit detail slips, which get processed every Monday for payroll. Our administrative assistant creates the invoice and submits it to the tax collector. The tax collector sends it out for payment and then turns over the payment to the treasurer for deposit. So some clarifications for some statements that were made. Police details are not and do not come out of the police department budget. This is a revolving account that gets reimbursed by the vendor, plus the town charges an administrative fee and cruiser use fee on most details. Nearly $50,000 has been collected in fees since 2018, which all goes into the general fund. So yes, the town makes a profit off of our officers working details. There is no impact on taxpayers. We have never had outstanding balances into the next fiscal year that required a free cash transfer. This has been in place since the early 1990s. Most of these jobs cannot be done without an officer present to do traffic. It is the absolute definition of public safety work, keeping workers safe and traffic flowing in a safe manner. Waltham Police Department just had an officer and a worker killed last week on a detail. Pittsfield had a worker killed just a couple months ago on a detail where the detail officer wasn't present yet. It was stated in your meeting that we have 8 police officers. We are fully staffed at 14. Average amount of details worked from July through this week ranges from 6 to 16 per week. This can vary based on the jobs available and the officers that are available to work. This also increases when there are football games or evening events at the stationery factory or Purgatory Road. All other communities in Berkshire County follow the revolving account model where the officers get paid in the next pay period. And payments from vendors can take anywhere from 30 to 60 days and sometimes a little longer to come in. The lack of operational knowledge and lack of basic finance understanding displayed by 3 members of the Finance Committee in their meeting on December 6th is embarrassing. You and 2 other members, both of which are here, you made multiple disparaging remarks about my leadership, my lack of fiscal responsibility, and negative comments about our officers. It should be noted that the police department came in under budget this year for the first time in many years. And I will direct my comments to you, Mr. Irwin, specifically. To say our officers have no dedication to our town and only a dedication to their paychecks in a public meeting was disgusting. These officers risk their lives every day to protect our community and don't deserve the disrespect that was displayed by you and 2 others. And Mr. Irwin, in answer to your snarky assumption that I, and this is a direct quote from you, take the liberty of working details, you are again incorrect. I occasionally do work a school event to be part of our community, which last time I checked was a pretty positive thing. So in closing, the apology letter that you owe my department can be mailed to the Dalton Police Department at 462 Main Street.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else? Mr. Irwin.
This is a reply to the chief. I would ask that she go and re-listen to the tape of that meeting because both of the quotes that she made that I said are incorrect. You're more than welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, seeing none. This requires a 2/3 vote in order to pass. We're going to attempt to do it by voice vote. If that doesn't work, we'll do it by counting. All those in favor of Article 1 as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying no. It carries. Thank you. Mr. Droshine.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your attendance tonight. I know it's not a great night to be out, but thank you very much. Yes? We're going to vote. We already voted on the amendment, and then we voted on the article. Okay, now we have to vote on adjourning. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. Have a great holiday, everyone.